A billionaire spent a year searching for his missing wife, exhausting every resource and following every lead that went nowhere. Then, in the poorest neighborhood of the city, a 6-year-old girl pointed to a missing person poster and said 4 words that would change everything. "That woman lives in my house." What the wealthy man discovered inside that crumbling apartment would shake him to his core and reveal a truth about kindness that money could never buy. This is their story. The flickering streetlight outside apartment 2B had been broken for 8 months. Nobody came to fix things in this neighborhood anymore. But inside that tiny 2-bedroom apartment, 6-year-old Lily Martinez was carefully combing tangles from a stranger's hair, humming softly as she worked. "There you go, Anna," Lily whispered, her small hands gentle as she separated another knot. "You're getting prettier every day." The woman sitting on the worn carpet didn't respond. She never did. Her eyes, once vacant and terrified, now held something softer when she looked at Lily, but words still wouldn't come. Her clothes, donated from the church down the street, hung loose on her thin frame. Her hands trembled slightly as they rested in her lap. 3 months ago, Lily had been taking out the trash when she heard whimpering behind the dumpster. Most kids would have run back inside. But Lily wasn't most kids. She found a woman curled against the brick wall, filthy and shaking, with a gash across her forehead and terror in her eyes. The woman couldn't speak, couldn't seem to understand where she was. When Lily reached out her hand, the woman flinched like she expected to be hit. "It's okay," Lily had said in her small, steady voice. "You're safe now. I'm Lily. What's your name?" The woman just stared, tears streaming down her dirty face. Lily had run upstairs to get her grandmother Maria, who worked 3 cleaning jobs just to keep their lights on. Maria's first instinct was to call the police, but something in her granddaughter's pleading eyes made her pause. "Abuela, please. She's hurt. She's scared. We have to help her. Mija, we barely have enough for ourselves. Then we'll share. You always say that's what good people do. Please, Abuela." That night, Maria brought the stranger inside. They cleaned her wounds with their limited first aid supplies. They gave her water, soup, a blanket. The woman sat in the corner of their small living room, trembling, watching them with fearful, confused eyes. "She needs a name," Lily had said. "We can't just call her her." Maria sighed. "Anna. We'll call her Anna until she can tell us her real name." But weeks turned into months, and Anna never spoke. She showed signs of deep trauma. Loud noises made her cower. She couldn't seem to remember how to do basic things like using utensils or brushing her teeth. At night, they could hear her crying softly in the darkness. Yet slowly, with Lily's patient care, something was changing. Lily would sit with Anna for hours, telling her stories about school, about the birds she saw in the park, about her dreams of becoming a veterinarian someday. She'd brush Anna's hair, hold her hand during thunderstorms, share her small portions of food even when her own stomach growled with hunger. "You know what, Anna?" Lily said one morning as she carefully braided Anna's now clean hair. "My mama left when I was little. I don't remember her much, but Abuela says she loved me very much. She just couldn't stay. Do you have people who love you? People who are missing you?" Anna's eyes filled with tears. Her hand reached up, trembling, and touched Lily's cheek. It was the first voluntary gesture she'd made toward another person in 3 months. Lily smiled. "It's okay. You're part of our family now. Right, Abuela?" Maria, preparing their modest breakfast of eggs and tortillas, looked at the strange woman who had become part of their lives. They could barely afford to feed themselves, yet here they were, sharing everything with someone who couldn't even tell them her name. "Right, Mija," Maria said quietly. "Family takes care of family." What none of them knew was that across the city, in a mansion that cost more than everyone in their neighborhood would earn in a lifetime, a man was preparing to follow what would be his final lead. Alexander Morrison had spent over $1 million searching for his wife. He'd hired the best investigators, offered substantial rewards, appeared on every news program that would have him. 1 year. 365 days of not knowing whether Sarah was alive or dead. Whether she'd left him intentionally or been taken. Whether she was suffering somewhere while he slept in their empty bed, tormented by questions that had no answers. That morning, Alexander's last private investigator had called with information about homeless populations in the city's poorest districts. It was a long shot, the investigator had admitted. They'd already searched these areas months ago, but there had been reports of a woman matching Sarah's description in the East Side neighborhood. Alexander didn't have much hope left, but he had to try. He had to keep trying, because the alternative was accepting that she was gone forever. He got in his car and started driving toward a neighborhood he'd never visited, toward a broken streetlight and a tiny apartment where his entire world was about to shift on its axis. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours researching and crafting this story to bring you something truly meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart and you want to see more acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me and helps these important stories reach others who need to hear them. Now, let's see what happens next. Alexander's luxury sedan looked completely out of place on the cracked, pothole-filled streets of the East Side. People stared as the pristine black vehicle rolled slowly past boarded-up shops and apartments with laundry hanging from rusted fire escapes. He'd driven through these streets twice already, seeing nothing, feeling his last thread of hope beginning to fray. Then his car made a sound it had never made before, a grinding, mechanical complaint that grew louder with each rotation of the wheels. Within seconds, the engine light blazed red on his dashboard. "No. Not now. Not here," Alexander muttered, pulling over beside a lamppost plastered with faded flyers and graffiti. He sat there for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel, fighting back the emotion that always threatened to overwhelm him these days. 1 year of searching. 1 year of his life suspended in the terrible space between hope and despair. And now his car had broken down in a neighborhood where he clearly didn't belong. Alexander pulled out his phone to call his mechanic when he heard it. A small voice, high and clear in the afternoon air. "Abuela. Abuela, wait. Look." He glanced up to see a tiny girl with dark braids running toward his car, her grandmother hurrying behind her, carrying bags of groceries. The little girl stopped directly in front of his window, her small finger pointing upward. Alexander rolled down his window. "Excuse me, is there a—" "That woman lives in my house." Lily interrupted, her eyes wide and urgent. Alexander blinked, confused. "What? That woman?" Lily pointed more insistently at the lamppost beside his car. "The one on the poster. She lives in my house." Alexander's heart stopped. Slowly, he turned his head to look at the lamppost. And there, beneath layers of newer flyers and street art, he saw it. One of the hundreds of missing person posters he'd plastered across the city months ago. Sarah's face stared back at him, slightly faded but unmistakable. Missing. Sarah Morrison. Reward for information. "What did you say?" Alexander's voice came out as barely a whisper. Maria reached them, slightly out of breath. "Lily, Mija, don't bother they—" She stopped when she saw Alexander's face, saw where he was looking. "The lady on the poster," Lily said again, speaking slower now as if to help him understand. "She lives with us. We call her Anna because she can't remember her name. She's been with us for 3 months. We found her behind our building and she was hurt and scared and—" "Where?" Alexander was out of the car now, his tall frame towering over the small girl, his hands shaking. "Where is she? Please, that's my wife. That's Sarah. Where is she?" Maria instinctively stepped in front of Lily, protective. This well-dressed man was clearly wealthy, clearly desperate, but she'd learned to be cautious. "Sir, Please." Alexander's voice cracked. "Please, I've been searching for a year. If there's any chance. Please, I'm begging you. Let me see her." Lily looked up at her grandmother. "Abuela, he's the man from the poster. He's her husband. Anna has a family." Maria studied Alexander's face, the dark circles under his eyes, the way his hands trembled, the raw desperation that couldn't be faked. She saw her own reflection in his desperation. This was a man who had lost everything that mattered. She's not herself, Maria said carefully. She doesn't speak. She doesn't remember anything. She's been through something terrible. I don't know if she'll recognize you. I don't care. Please. I need to see her. Maria nodded slowly. We live in that building. Apartment 2B. But sir, Mr. Morrison, is it? You need to understand. She's very fragile. If you upset her, if you frighten her. I won't. I promise. I just need to see that she's alive. The walk up 2 flights of stairs felt like climbing a mountain. Alexander's heart hammered so hard he thought it might break through his ribs. Lily held her grandmother's hand, looking back at him every few steps as if to make sure he was still following. The apartment was smaller than Alexander's walk-in closet. The walls were thin, the furniture was mismatched and worn, and he could see water stains on the ceiling. But it was clean. There were fresh flowers in a jar on the windowsill. Wildflowers, probably picked from a vacant lot. A child's drawings covered the refrigerator. She's in the bedroom, Maria said quietly. Lily, go tell Anna we have a visitor. Gently, Mija. Lily disappeared down the short hallway. Alexander could hear her soft voice. Anna, someone's here to see you. It's okay. Don't be scared. Then Lily returned and nodded. Maria gestured for Alexander to follow. The bedroom was barely big enough for the single bed and small dresser it contained. And there, sitting on the edge of the bed in donated clothes that didn't fit right, her hair in a simple braid, her hands folded in her lap, was Sarah. Alexander's knees nearly gave out. She was thinner. There were new lines on her face. Her eyes held a distance that hadn't been there before. But it was her. It was unmistakably, impossibly her. Sarah, he breathed. She looked at him with those distant eyes. No recognition. No response. She simply stared as if he were a stranger. Sarah, it's me. It's Alexander. I'm your husband. I've been looking for you. His voice broke completely. He took a step toward her. Sarah flinched violently, pressing herself back against the wall, her breathing rapid and panicked. Stop, Lily said, stepping between them. You're scaring her. You have to be gentle. Watch. The little girl sat down beside Sarah on the bed, taking her hand with the naturalness of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. It's okay, Anna. This is Alexander. He's been looking for you. He's not going to hurt you. Nobody here will ever hurt you again. Sarah's breathing gradually slowed. She looked at Lily, and something in her expression softened. Alexander sank to his knees on the floor, tears streaming down his face. What happened to her? Who did this? Maria shook her head. We don't know. She can't tell us. But she had injuries when Lily found her. Defensive wounds on her arms, bruising, that head wound. Whatever happened, it was bad enough to make her forget everything. I need to get her help. Real help. Doctors, therapists, the best. She needs stability, Maria interrupted firmly. She needs people she trusts. She doesn't trust easily anymore, Mr. Morrison. It took weeks before she'd let me touch her. Lily is the only one she responds to. Alexander looked at his wife, so close and yet so far away, and then at the little girl sitting beside her. This child who had nothing had given Sarah something he couldn't. Safety, patience, unconditional care. How much do I owe you, he asked, his voice thick. For taking care of her. For 3 months of food and shelter and... We don't want your money, Maria said quietly but firmly. Please. You've been feeding her, caring for her. Your granddaughter has been. We helped because it was the right thing to do, Maria said. Not because we expected payment. Alexander stared at this woman who worked 3 jobs and could barely make rent, who had taken in a stranger and asked for nothing in return. The contrast to his own world, where everything had a price, where loyalty was bought, where even investigators needed constant payment to keep searching, was staggering. Then let me help you, Alexander said. Not as payment. As thanks. Your rent, your bills, anything you need. Please. It's the least I can do." Maria's eyes filled with tears. Pride warred with practicality on her face. "Mr. Morrison. And let me bring doctors here," Alexander continued. "Not to take her away. To help her here, where she feels safe. With Lily. Please. I can't lose her again. But I can see she needs more time. She needs you both." Lily looked at her grandmother, then at Alexander, then at Sarah. "Anna," she said softly, "this man loves you very much. He's been looking for you for a whole year. That's longer than I've been in first grade. Can you try to remember him? Can you try?" Sarah's eyes moved slowly from Lily to Alexander. She studied his face with that distant gaze. And then, so faintly Alexander almost missed it, her hand trembled and lifted slightly, as if reaching toward him before fear pulled it back. It was the smallest gesture, but it was everything. What would you do if you discovered someone with incredible talent? Not for art or music, but for pure compassion, living in such difficult circumstances. Would you have done what Maria did, taking in a stranger when you could barely feed yourself? Let me know your thoughts below. I read every comment. Over the next few weeks, Apartment 2B became a place where two worlds collided and somehow, miraculously, began to blend. Alexander came every day. Not as the commanding businessman who once controlled boardrooms, but as a humble man learning patience from a 6-year-old child. He sat on the worn carpet beside Sarah, sometimes for hours, simply being present. He brought groceries, careful not to overwhelm them, learning to ask what they needed rather than assuming. He paid their rent for the year, took care of Maria's medical bills she'd been ignoring, and arranged for Lily's school supplies. But more than money, he brought hope. "You have to talk to her like she's still in there," Lily instructed him one afternoon, her small hands on her hips like a tiny teacher. "Because she is. She's just hiding because she's scared. Right, Anna?" Sarah sat in her usual spot by the window, watching the street below. At Lily's words, she turned her head slightly, a small acknowledgement that meant everything. "What should I talk about?" Alexander asked Lily, his voice soft. "Tell her about your life together. Tell her about the happy things. Abuela says memories are like seeds. Sometimes they just need water to grow again." So Alexander talked. He told Sarah about the day they met at a charity fundraiser, how she'd been volunteering at the food tables and he'd been captivated by her laugh. He told her about their wedding day, small and intimate because that's what she'd wanted. He told her about lazy Sunday mornings and inside jokes and the way she always stole his coffee even though she claimed not to like it. "You loved gardening," Alexander said one day, his voice thick with emotion. "Our backyard was full of roses. You said each color meant something different. Red for love, yellow for friendship, white for—" He stopped, his throat closing. Sarah's hand moved to her chest, fingers splaying over her heart as if reaching for something lost. Her eyes filled with tears, though her expression remained distant. "She's remembering," Lily whispered excitedly. "Look, she's feeling something." Maria watched from the kitchen doorway, her own eyes wet. She'd been skeptical at first. Wealthy men making promises they wouldn't keep. But Alexander kept coming back. Every single day. Rain or shine. Sometimes he'd arrive before dawn, sitting quietly with coffee he'd brought for all of them, just to be near his wife. The doctors Alexander brought were different from what Maria expected. They were gentle, patient, willing to work at Sarah's pace. Dr. Chen, a trauma specialist, explained that Sarah likely had dissociative amnesia triggered by severe trauma. "Her mind is protecting her from something she's not ready to remember," Dr. Chen said during one of her visits. "The fact that she's showing any responses at all is remarkable. This little one," she nodded at Lily, "has done more for her than months of conventional therapy might have accomplished." But it wasn't just Sarah who was changing. Alexander was transforming too. The man who'd once measured his worth in deals closed and money earned now found joy in the simple act of braiding Sarah's hair the way Lily taught him. The man who'd had a staff for every need now learned to cook simple meals in Maria's tiny kitchen, standing beside her as she showed him how to make Sarah's favorite comfort foods. "You're different than I expected," Maria admitted one evening as they washed dishes together. Alexander insisting on helping despite her protests. How so? Rich people usually want to throw money at problems and walk away. You stayed. You're actually here doing the work. Alexander was quiet for a moment. I spent a year searching everywhere except the places that mattered. I hired investigators but never walked these streets myself. I was looking for Sarah, but I wasn't really seeing people. Maria, you and Lily took in a stranger with nothing to gain. That's something money can't buy and schools don't teach. You're teaching me what I should have known all along. Maria squeezed a shoulder, a grandmother's gesture of approval. But not everyone was happy about the situation. The trouble started when Alexander's business partner, Richard, discovered where Alexander had been spending his time. You've been missing board meetings to sit in some apartment in the slums? Richard's voice was sharp with disbelief during their video call. Alexander, I understand you found Sarah, and that's wonderful, but... But what? Alexander's jaw tightened. But she doesn't even recognize you. She can't speak. The doctors say she may never fully recover. You have responsibilities. The company is suffering. You're suffering. It's time to move her to a proper facility where professionals can. No. Alexander's voice was steel. She stays where she feels safe. You're letting a 6-year-old child and her grandmother dictate medical decisions about your wife? Alexander, be reasonable. You can compensate them generously and move Sarah somewhere appropriate. Appropriate. Alexander's laugh was bitter. You mean expensive. Sterile. Somewhere she can be locked away and forgotten? That little girl has done more for Sarah than any facility could. That little girl is not a licensed therapist. No, she's something better. She's someone who sees Sarah as a person, not a patient. Someone who gives without expecting anything back. When was the last time either of us did something like that, Richard? The call ended badly. But Richard wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, Maria found official-looking papers slipped under her door. A legal notice questioning her fitness to house someone with Sarah's medical needs. Questions about whether proper care was being provided. Suggestions that Sarah should be moved to a state facility or private care home for her own safety. They're saying I'm neglecting her? Maria's hands shook as she read the documents. After everything we've done? Alexander's face went pale with rage when he saw the papers. This is Richard. He's trying to force my hand. He thinks if he makes things difficult here, I'll move Sarah and come back to running the company full-time. Can he do this? Maria asked, fear evident in her voice. Can he take Anna away? Not if I can help it. But Maria, this could get ugly. There will be investigations, maybe court hearings. I won't let them take her, but I can't promise this won't affect you and Lily. If you want to step back, I understand. I can find another. No. Maria's voice was firm. Anna is family now. Lily would be heartbroken. We don't abandon family. But the stress was taking its toll. Lily noticed how quiet her grandmother had become, how she sat up late at night looking at the legal papers. She noticed how Anna seemed more agitated, picking up on the tension in the apartment. One night, Lily couldn't sleep. She got up and found her grandmother crying quietly at the kitchen table, those papers spread out before her. Abuela. Maria quickly wiped her eyes. It's nothing, Mija. Go back to bed. Are they going to take Anna away? I won't let them. But what if they make you? What if? Lily's voice trembled. What if helping Anna was a mistake? What if we get in trouble? Maria pulled her granddaughter onto her lap. Listen to me, Lily. Helping someone is never a mistake. Never. Sometimes doing the right thing is hard. Sometimes people don't understand. But you look at me and tell me. Would you go back and not help Anna that night? Would you leave her scared and hurt behind that dumpster? Lily shook her head fiercely. No. Never. Then we don't give up now. We fight for our family. The next day, during Alexander's visit, Lily was quieter than usual. She still sat with Sarah, still talked to her, but the spark of joy was dimmed. Sarah noticed. She always noticed when Lily was sad. For the first time in 4 months, Sarah made a sound, not words, but a soft hum, the way Lily always hummed while brushing her hair. It was an attempt at comfort, a reaching back toward the child who had saved her. Lily's eyes widened. "Anna, did you made a sound." Sarah's hand reached out, touching Lily's cheek, wiping away a tear the little girl hadn't realized had fallen. Alexander watched this moment. His wife, who couldn't remember him, comforting a child who'd shown her nothing but love. And he made a decision. "I'm not going back," he said quietly. "What?" Maria looked at him. "To my company. To that life. Richard can have it all. The board seat, the partnership, everything. I'll sign it over. I've spent a year searching for what matters, and I'm not losing it again because of paperwork and profit margins." "Alexander, you can't just." "I can. And I am. This," he gestured around the small apartment, "this is where I'm supposed to be. Fighting for people who fought for us when they didn't have to." Lily threw her arms around his waist. "You're really going to stay? You're going to help us keep Anna?" "I'm going to do whatever it takes," Alexander promised. "We're family now. And family doesn't give up on each other." But as Sarah hummed that soft tune, trying to bring comfort to those who'd given her everything, none of them knew that the biggest battle was still ahead. Because the next day, Child Protective Services would knock on Maria's door, asking questions about the appropriateness of a 6-year-old being so involved in the care of a traumatized adult. Sometimes, doing the right thing meant fighting the whole world to prove it. Have you ever had to overcome obstacles to help someone you cared about? Have you faced people who didn't understand why you were making sacrifices? What challenges did you face and how did you push through? Share your experience below. Your story might inspire someone else who's struggling to do the right thing. The Child Protective Services investigator who arrived at apartment 2B was a woman named Jennifer Oakes. She had kind eyes but carried a clipboard, and Lily knew from TV that clipboards meant trouble. "Ms. Martinez, I'm here to conduct a welfare check regarding the minor child living in this residence and her interaction with an adult patient with severe trauma and memory loss," Jennifer said, her tone professional but not unkind. Maria's hands clenched at her sides, but she stepped aside. "Come in." Alexander arrived 20 minutes later with his lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia who'd handled his business contracts for years. But this wasn't business, this was family. Jennifer spent an hour observing. She watched Lily interact with Sarah. The gentleness, the patience, the obvious love. She saw how Sarah's eyes followed the child around the room, how she seemed calmer with Lily near. She noted the cleanliness of the home despite its poverty, the healthy meals Maria prepared, the careful documentation Dr. Chen had provided about Sarah's progress. "Ms. Martinez," Jennifer said finally, setting down her clipboard. "I'll be honest with you. When this case came across my desk, the complaint painted a picture of negligence and inappropriate exposure of a child to a dangerous situation. But that's not what I see here." Maria's breath caught. "It's not. No. What I see is a grandmother who taught her grandchild compassion. A child who is thriving. Her school reports are excellent. Her teachers say she's well-adjusted, happy, helpful to others. And I see a woman receiving better care here than she might receive in many licensed facilities." Jennifer paused. "However, I do have concerns about the legal guardianship situation and the long-term sustainability of this arrangement." "What does that mean?" Lily asked, her small voice worried. Jennifer knelt down to Lily's level. "It means we need to make sure everyone is protected. Your grandmother, you, and Ms. Sarah. Sometimes, even when people are doing everything right, we need proper paperwork to make sure everyone stays safe." Patricia, the lawyer, stepped forward. "Ms. Oakes, if I may. We've been preparing documentation to address exactly these concerns. Mr. Morrison is willing to establish a formal care arrangement, including proper compensation for Ms. Martinez as a licensed caregiver, once she completes the necessary certification courses. We're also proposing a trust fund for Lily's education and future needs, completely separate from the care arrangement, to ensure there's no appearance of undue financial influence." "That's not necessary," Maria started to protest. "Yes, it is," Alexander said gently. Not as payment, Maria. As family. You're giving up income from your other jobs to be here full-time for Sarah. Let me make that possible. And Lily, he looked at the little girl who'd changed everything. Lily deserves every opportunity in the world. Jennifer reviewed the documents Patricia provided. This is thorough and thoughtful. But I need to ask, Mr. Morrison, why not simply move your wife to your home, with licensed care there? Alexander looked at Sarah, who was sitting by the window holding Lily's hand. Because she's happy here. Because forcing her into unfamiliar surroundings could undo months of progress. Because the people she trusts are here. He paused. A year ago, I thought I could solve any problem with money and resources. But my wife taught me that sometimes the richest thing you can offer someone is simply showing up, being patient, and loving without conditions. That's what this family gave her. That's what I'm learning to give too. Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled, a real smile, not a professional one. I'll file my report recommending no further action, with the stipulation that Ms. Martinez completes the caregiver certification within 6 months and that Dr. Chen continues regular monitoring. Mr. Morrison, whoever filed this complaint did you all a favor. This documentation will protect everyone involved. After Jennifer left, the apartment erupted in relieved celebration. Maria hugged Lily tight. Alexander's shoulders sagged with relief. And Sarah, watching all of this, did something unexpected. She smiled. It was small, fragile, like the first flower after winter. But it was unmistakably a smile. Anna! Lily exclaimed. You smiled. Did you see Abuela? Mr. Alexander? She smiled. But the victories kept coming in ways none of them expected. The next week, Dr. Chen arrived with exciting news. Sarah's brain scans show increased activity in the areas associated with memory and speech. The consistent, loving environment is working. But there's something else. I'd like to try music therapy. Sometimes melodies can unlock what words cannot. They started with simple songs. Children's tunes that Lily would sing while playing. Classical pieces that Alexander remembered Sarah loving. And then one day, Lily was humming a lullaby her mother used to sing, and Sarah's lips began to move. "Do meet me, Nina." The words came out cracked and hesitant, but they came. Everyone froze. "Anna, you're talking. You're singing." Lily's eyes were huge with wonder. Sarah's hand flew to her throat, her eyes wide with shock at the sound of her own voice. Tears streamed down her face. "That's Spanish," Maria whispered. "That's the lullaby I sing to Lily." Over the next days, words came slowly. First just echoes of what others said. Then simple requests. "Water. Thank you. Lily." And then, one quiet evening when Alexander was sitting beside her, Sarah turned to him and spoke a complete sentence. "I know you." Alexander's world stopped spinning. You remember?" "I don't remember everything. But I know, safe. I know, love." Her words were halting, searching. "You looked for me. Every single day," Alexander said through tears. "Every single day for a year." Sarah's hand reached out and touched his face, really seeing him for the first time since he'd found her. "Thank you for not giving up." 6 months later, apartment 2B had changed, but not in the ways you might expect. Yes, Maria had completed her caregiver certification. Yes, the building had been renovated. Alexander had bought the entire complex and updated it, providing safe, affordable housing for everyone who lived there. Yes, there was better lighting, working elevators, and a community garden in the courtyard that Sarah designed. But the real changes were deeper. Sarah still lived in apartment 2B. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The doctors agreed that the stability and love she'd found there were irreplaceable. Alexander had moved into apartment 2A next door, transforming 2 apartments into a connected living space that gave Sarah her safe haven while keeping the family close together. She was speaking more each day, though some memories remained frustratingly out of reach. Dr. Chen explained that she might never remember everything about the trauma she'd endured. Her mind had protected her by locking those memories away. But she was remembering the good things. her love for gardening, her wedding day, the sound of Alexander's laugh. "I'm not the same Sarah you married," she told Alexander one evening as they sat in the community garden she'd created, Lily playing nearby. "No," Alexander agreed. "You're not. And I'm not the same Alexander who lost you. Maybe we're both better versions now." Sarah smiled. She smiled often now. "I think we are. That man was so busy searching, he forgot to see. This man notices when the flowers need water and when Lily needs help with homework." That Sarah was independent and strong, Alexander added. This Sarah knows it's okay to need people, to accept help, to build family in unexpected places. Lily ran over, dirt on her knees from planting tomatoes. "Miss Sarah, Mr. Alexander, Abuela says dinner is ready." "We're coming, Mija," Sarah said, the Spanish endearment coming naturally now. As they walked back to the apartments, this unlikely family bound not by blood but by choice and circumstance, Sarah paused. "Lily, do you remember the night you found me?" Lily nodded. "You were scared. And hurt. Do you know why I trusted you? Because I was nice to you. Because you saw me. Not a homeless person. Not a broken person. Just a person who needed help. You have a gift, Lily. You see people's hearts." A year after that day, when Lily pointed at a poster and changed everything, the community gathered in the newly renovated courtyard for a special celebration. Sarah's garden was in full bloom, roses of every color, vegetables growing in raised beds, a small fountain that local children loved to play around. But this wasn't just a garden party. It was the opening of the Maria and Lily Martinez Community Center, a place where Sarah and Alexander had poured their resources into creating something lasting. After-school programs for kids, job training for adults, a food pantry, free counseling services. "We wanted to create something that honors what was given to me," Sarah explained to the gathered crowd, her voice stronger now but still soft. "When I had nothing, not even my own name, a little girl and her grandmother gave me everything. They gave me safety. They gave me love. They gave me a reason to come back to myself." Maria stood beside her, uncomfortable with the attention but proud. Lily held Sarah's hand on one side and Alexander's on the other. "This center is for everyone who needs help," Alexander continued. "No questions asked. No judgment. Because we learned that sometimes the people who have the least give the most. And sometimes the richest thing we can offer each other is simple human kindness." Lily tugged on Sarah's sleeve. "Miss Sarah, can I say something?" Sarah nodded, helping the little girl up onto the small stage. Lily looked at the crowd of neighbors, old and new. "My abuela always told me that helping people is never wrong, even when it's hard. Even when people don't understand. I just wanted to help the scared lady behind the dumpster. I didn't know she would become my family. I didn't know Mr. Alexander would become like my dad." She looked back at them, her eyes shining. "But that's the thing about kindness. You never know how big it's going to grow." The crowd applauded, but Lily wasn't finished. "So if you see someone who needs help, even if you're scared or you don't know what to do, just be kind. That's all. Just be kind. Because that one little choice can change everything." As the celebration continued, Alexander found himself watching Sarah teach a group of children about the different flowers in the garden. She was patient with them, gentle, showing them how to tell when plants needed water or more sun. She was healing, growing, blooming. Richard, his former business partner, had sent a brief email months ago. "You're insane for walking away from everything we built." Alexander had written back, "I didn't walk away from everything. I walked toward it." Now, looking at Sarah laughing with the children, at Maria serving food to neighbors, at Lily running through the garden she'd helped plant, Alexander understood something profound. He'd spent a year searching for his wife, but what he'd actually found was himself. The part of him that had been missing long before Sarah disappeared. The part that knew how to be present, to be vulnerable, to accept that some gifts can't be bought. "Mr. Alexander," Lily called. "Come see. The tomatoes are ready to pick." He went, leaving behind the world of board meetings and profit margins. walking toward the simple joy of picking tomatoes with a 6-year-old girl who taught him everything that mattered. This story shows how one act of kindness can change everything, not just for one person but for an entire community. What's one way you could make a difference in someone's life today? It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest ripples. Challenge yourself and share your commitment in the comments. What act of kindness will you perform this week? 2 years have passed since that day when a car broke down beside a lamppost and a little girl's words changed everything. Sarah continues to live connected to apartment 2B, though most of her memories have returned. She runs the community center's therapy garden program, helping others heal through nature the way she healed through love. She and Alexander renewed their wedding vows in that garden, with Lily as the flower girl and Maria as the matron of honor. Lily is 8 now, thriving in school and already talking about becoming a doctor so she can help people like she helped Sarah. The college fund Alexander established ensures that dream will become reality. She still visits the garden every day after school, and Sarah is always there waiting. Maria retired from her 3 jobs and now manages the community center full-time, bringing the same fierce compassion she showed Sarah to everyone who walks through those doors. She's become a grandmother to dozens of neighborhood children who know they'll always find a safe place, a warm meal, and unconditional love. Alexander transformed his business approach entirely. He sold his shares to Richard and now invests in community development projects. He's opened 5 more centers in underserved neighborhoods. But every evening he comes home to apartment 2A, to the family he gained when he finally stopped searching and started seeing. This story reminds us that we all have the power to change someone's life, not through grand gestures or unlimited resources, but through simple human kindness. By seeing people really seeing them. By choosing compassion over convenience. By understanding that sometimes the smallest hands carry the biggest hearts. Stories like this remind us that extraordinary kindness exists all around us. If this touched your heart, please like this video. It helps more people discover these inspiring stories. Subscribe for more tales of human compassion that will restore your faith in humanity. And most importantly, look for opportunities in your own life to be someone's unexpected blessing. What act of kindness will you perform this week? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, you have the power to change someone's entire world. Sometimes it starts with just 4 words. That woman lives in my house.